Empires don't usually fall because of one man. They fall because of devastating wars, massive armies, or a slow, grinding internal collapse. But history records these rare, pivotal moments, when one single individual, with no army and no real power, uses nothing but their intelligence to outsmart an entire empire. This is not a story about brute strength. This is a story of strategy, patience, and thinking differently. And by the end of this video, you will understand why the sharpest and most dangerous weapon in all of history has always been the human mind. Let's travel back in time to the early 18th century. The British Empire was undeniably one of the most powerful forces on the planet. It controlled vast resources, commanded a massive army, and its reach stretched across the globe. Across the ocean, India was a land of incredible wealth, rich in resources, trade, and a vibrant culture, but it was politically divided. Different kingdoms and principalities were often in conflict. Into this world came the British East India Company. They arrived as traders, as merchants seeking profit, not as conquerors. At least, that's what almost everyone believed. Everyone. Except one man. He saw the company not as a business partner, but as a creeping threat, a shadow growing longer and longer over his land. That man was Siraj-ud-Dowlah, the young Nawab of Bengal. He was seen as inexperienced, perhaps even impulsive. The advisors surrounding him consistently underestimated the enemy, viewing the British as mere merchants who could be managed or controlled. But the real, existential danger didn't come from the British soldiers and their red coats. It came from a man named Robert Clive, clerk turned soldier with limited troops, but an absolutely unlimited, burning ambition. Clive understood something that would change the course of history. You don't defeat a vast, complex entity like an empire by fighting it head-on. That's a fool's errand. You defeat it by finding the cracks and breaking it from the inside. You turn its own strengths into weaknesses. So, instead of planning a direct military attack, Robert Clive waged a war of a different kind. A psychological one. He identified the key figures in the Nawab's court and army. He didn't send soldiers. He sent agents with promises of gold and power. He bribed key generals, planting seeds of greed and disloyalty. He expertly spread rumors and disinformation to create doubt and paranoia within Siraj-ud-Dowlah's inner circle. He exploited the existing internal rivalries, fanning the flames of jealousy and ambition that already existed among the Nawab's commanders. His masterstroke was convincing Mir Jafar, one of the most powerful and trusted commanders in Siraj's army, to betray his own ruler. Clive promised Mir Jafar the throne of Bengal if he would just stand down at the critical moment. There were no massive, drawn-out battles. There were no long, costly wars of attrition. There was just pure, cold, calculated strategy. When the decisive moment finally arrived at the Battle of Plassey in 1757, the scene was almost surreal. Siraj-ud-Dowlah's army was vastly larger, dwarfing Clive's small force. On paper, it should have been an easy victory, but the battle was lost before the first shot was even fired. As the conflict began, Mir Jafar, true to his secret agreement, stood still. His enormous section of the army did not engage. They didn't fight. They just watched. Confusion and panic rippled through the rest of the Nawab's forces. The empire fell without even realizing it was being defeated. The outcome was as shocking as it was swift. In a matter of hours, Bengal, one of the wealthiest regions in the world, was lost. This single event marked the beginning of direct British control, paving the way for the British Raj. Eventually, the entire Indian subcontinent fell under colonial rule for nearly 2 centuries, and it all happened because one man understood human psychology better than his opponent. One man knew that true power lies not in force, but in influence, in knowing what people want and what they fear. The British Empire didn't win that day because it was stronger. It won because it outthought its opponent. But this isn't just a dusty story from a history book. It is a timeless lesson in power, strategy, and human nature. Empires, and indeed any large organization, don't collapse when they are attacked from the outside. They collapse when they are divided from the inside. Think about it in today's world. Companies don't always fail because of their competitors. They often fail because of internal politics, a toxic culture, or a lack of a unified vision. Nations don't just weaken because of external enemies. They weaken when their own people are pitted against each other, when trust erodes and division spreads. And on a personal level, we don't lose because we are weak. We lose because we underestimate the importance of strategy, patience, and clear thinking. We get outmaneuvered. Robert Clive didn't have the biggest army or the most resources. What he had was the clearest understanding of human ambition, greed, fear, and loyalty. He saw people not as soldiers, but as chess pieces, and he knew exactly how to move them. History shows us this one fundamental truth. Again and again, intelligence consistently beats strength. Strategy beats size, and thinking beats brute force. This lesson doesn't just apply to empires and battles. It applies to your career, to business negotiations, to solving complex problems, and even to your own personal growth. The ability to see the whole board, to understand motivations, and to plan several moves ahead is a superpower. One man didn't defeat an empire with cannons and muskets. He defeated it with careful planning, patience, and a deep understanding of the human mind. So, here, that's the real question for all of us today. In a world that is so obsessed with immediate results, with visible power and speed, are you just training your strength, or are you taking the time to sharpen your mind? Thank you for watching. If you found this story insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content that explores the hidden forces that shape our world. We'll see you in the next one.